All right, welcome to another edition of the Hardwood Huddle. My name is Randy Zellea with BackSportsPage.com. Joining me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Jedi Master, the Lord of the Sith. His name is Bill Ingram.
Depends on which day.
Yeah, one minute he's with the Sith, the next minute he's a Jedi. You can tell I don't watch Star Wars, and he's asking to be beamed up, and that's a whole nother franchise.
I'm afraid you've got the wrong ship, laddie.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm still talking about Norman Cheers. So that's two totally different worlds.
George Wendt. That's crushing, isn't it? 76 years old, died in his sleep.
Oh, it's no way to go. And I don't know if you saw, but like totally off topic here, but I don't know if you saw, but the Cheers in Boston actually put a remembrance on his seat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was really, really cool, actually.
When I came to Boston to cover it was Pistons Celtics. I was there to do a game, and of course, I had to go to Cheers. It was absolutely mandatory.
The first time I went out to Boston, I had to go too. It was one of those things. For those who are watching and who are consistent viewers of the show, you can see that we're not in our normal setup. Bill's outside. I'm in a different room in the house. So if you hear a little echoing, that's why. But you know what, Bill? It's the NBA conference finals are here. We last discussed when we were, I guess, still in the first round.
Yeah.
The Knicks and the Pacers are the Eastern Conference Finals. The Thunder and the Timberwolves. Yeah, let me see if you had that in your predictions at the beginning of the season. I still think Timberwolves. I still think Chuck Person. I still think a young Kevin Garnett. The
Timberwolves, that's not a stretch. They got to the conference finals last year, but this is not. I think we were predicting the downfall of the Cleveland Cavaliers since January, December, November. I don't know, early on, and just about the time we decided, okay, they're for real, then they collapsed.
Yeah, as soon as I hitched my wagon to them, I was like, "Oh, Cleveland!" Oh.
Yeah, and then they went. Yeah. But the other team that I predicted would be in the NBA Finals is still alive and well, even after a 7-game showdown with Denver, which was interesting because we saw the Thunder grow up in that Game 7. Like all of a sudden, I think maybe they had a little bit of jitters and a little bit of big stage fright, maybe. But man, in Game 7, they put the pedal to the metal, and here we go.
The one thing I still feel the Oklahoma City Thunder's missing is that guy in the clutch.
I'm talking MVP works pretty well for me.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like that established guy who's going to I hate to use the name Kevin Durant, the guy you would want to have as your closer, but who's the closer on that team? SGA has still not established himself to be that guy in that big moment yet. I really do feel that the Thunder is a team that's on the rise. They're set up for the future, and they have draft capital, and they have cap space. It's a very dangerous team. That is a dangerous team, not just for this year. Can you imagine if they win the NBA Finals this year? You can't tell me they're not going to be there for the next couple of years.
Especially if they were to land, say, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or even, we've talked about this off the air, Kevin Durant. That's one of the few places I could see him fitting because his workload would be so low that maybe he wouldn't get hurt all the time. But yeah, they've got the space. There's some big name guys maybe going to be available. Jaylen Brown. And if you're one of those guys and you want to win, and I mean, you've got a couple of places you can go that have a lot of draft capital and a lot of cap space. One's Houston, one's Oklahoma City, and then of course Brooklyn is on the rise too. So, man, the Thunder would be an awfully appealing trade partner, both for a team that's looking to trade and you want approval from your player. Hey, you're going to go play with the team that just won the finals. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about some of these big names that can possibly be on the move and some of the teams that have the spacing and the assets to make those moves. I have to tell you, though, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, I thought when Towns got traded, that was it. And I was sitting there saying to myself, you know what, maybe Julius Randle may not be a bad piece for them. DiVincenzo be able to step up. But it felt like it took all season for this team to mesh for the Lakers series. It finally came together for them for the Lakers series. Like towards the tail end of the season, they went on a little bit of a streak, and all of a sudden, boom! Now they're the Minnesota Timberwolves that we saw last year. That
Yeah, well, I think we saw flashes. I mostly saw them when they played Houston or Dallas because those are Houston's obviously the team I watch the most, and then if the Rockets aren't on, I'll watch the Mavs. And I saw them look really good a few times, but wasn't consistent. I just kept thinking that Chris Finch is such a really good coach, and they had size, they had shooting, they have a go-to guy the clutch guy that's going to take the shot. But Anthony Edwards has some growing to do there as well. But this is where it happens. This is where you become the guy who takes the big shot. And Anthony Edwards didn't have a great first game of this series, but what's he going to be over 7 games or 5, 6, 7 games, however far it goes? Hey, it's the NBA; it'll go 7. But that's a different conversation about a different documentary that's on Netflix right now. But this is where it happens. Does SGA become that guy? Does Anthony Edwards become that guy? This is where we find out. This is why we watch.
Well, the thing is, too, Anthony Edwards is only 23 years old.
Yeah.
And it's the scary part. You're asking this guy to be a leader of the team. He's 23.
But in NBA years, that's 72 now, right?
Yeah, well, I think the real leader of that team might be Rudy Gobert because he's been the one with the most experience on that team.
Yeah, but he's not the most mature guy.
Oh, Mike Conley. That's probably the guy.
That's your elder statesman for sure. He's the steady hand.
Yeah, and the thing is with OKC too. Again, when you're telling me that Alex Caruso is the guy who has the most experience on your team, that's more of like we're just going to throw the caution to the wind and just play. Why not?
Right.
Why not? So it's just boom. It's funny. We talk about that with Minnesota. Julius Randle's been in the league for a long time. There's guys on that team who have been here for a long time. You would think that they would have the experience advantage. Right now, as we're recording this on Thursday night, the game 2 has already started. Oklahoma's up early, and it's early in the second quarter too. But you would think that Minnesota would probably have a little bit more or less, maybe less stage fright in this situation. But it's just they don't have an answer, and OKC is just so young and so reckless and don't understand the size of the moment they're in. They're just like, we're just going to play pedal to the metal. We're just going to follow our leader, SGA, and just do our thing. Jalen Williams is a star on the rise. I love Hartenstein, the kid they got from the Knicks.
Yeah,
Hartenstein. Yeah, I love him.
He's been great.
Chet Holmgren still looks like he's 12.
Yeah,
spider legs. He looks like he doesn't know how to shave his beard. Like he looks like that's how young he is. I just think that the moment the Oklahoma City Thunder may not have to soak in on how big the moment is. They don't have the opportunity to be scared of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're good enough to be there in the end to win this series. Now on the Eastern side, boy, were we treated to a fun game last night. And I guess if you're the Pacers, I guess the first 3 3/4 of a quarter just don't matter.
Nah. As long as you play hard that last 6 minutes, you're good.
I'll tell you, the Knicks look like they had a deer in headlight look. I think the shock of the comeback, they never got over it last night. And the moment got too big for them.
Halliburton took over. You look at the matchup between Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. Obviously, that's the key matchup. And Halliburton is not the guy that's always going to lead them in scoring, but he certainly took over that role in game 1. And I think the thing that impressed me the most was, even though Jalen Brunson had more points, the efficiency of Halliburton. He had, what Jalen Brunson had like 7 or 8 turnovers. Halliburton only 1 or 2. And then you're looking at the floor leadership, the passing, which is also that's going to be an advantage for Halliburton anyway. But He's got the size to make life difficult for Jalen Brunson if he can step it up defensively, and his efficiency on the offensive end, I thought, was the difference in the game.
One of the things that I don't remember if it was Stan Van Gundy or if it was Reggie who made the comment, but I thought towards the end, I don't remember if it was the end of regulation or if it was during the overtime, but they brought up the fact that they were not looking at Pascal Siakam. Now, here's a guy who's got the championship experience. He's been there. I thought they probably would have leaned on him a little bit more. It didn't really matter at the end result, but the Pacers are a deep team, and one of the things that they have that the Knicks do not have is an inside presence. And when those 3-point long shots are not going for the Knicks, they have nobody to get the ball inside. Like, they'll have Brunson and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart maybe drive to the basket, but they don't have anyone to stop Evan Turner. They don't have anyone to stop Pascal Siakam.
Miles.
No, and the thing is,
Evan Turner's been out of the league for a day or two.
Yeah.
Miles Turner.
Turner.
No, Miles took over the game right at the beginning. I remember Evan Turner. I remember talking to him at pre-draft camp, as a matter of fact. It's hard
kid.
Though when you covered as many basketball games as we have. The last name sometimes you start to have brain farts. But no, I thought it was Turner at the beginning of the game and Halliburton at the end, and that's the idea. You got to be able to hurt them in multiple ways, and then they adjust to accommodate to try to account for one thing you're doing, and then something else happens. And you're right about Siakam. You know, when they got Siakam, we both thought that was it. Indiana, wow, what an incredible talent. He has not been that in Indiana. I mean, not that he's not a great player, and not that he's not doing great things on the floor, but he's not what we thought he might be. Is come into his own as a dominant scorer, somebody that's going to give you 28 to 30 points a game. And that just hasn't been the way he's been used, or that's not how he's functioned for Rick Carlisle. Yeah,
but I was about to say exactly. I think you just said it perfectly, perfect there. When he was playing for Nick Nurse, he was able to really. Nurse gave him the opportunity to sort of just freelance on the floor. He'd bring up the ball, he'd go coast to coast. You know,
they needed him to. Yeah. He was the last man standing, right?
Yeah, he really was.
Him and Scotty
Ballmer. But like what I'm saying though is, you know, Carlisle's more structured.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if Siakam can play structured. That's a big thing. You know, that's a big difference in styles.
What Carlisle does, and I love this. I watched him do it in Dallas throughout his tenure here. I talked to the players about what he was doing, and I got both sides of the story, and I think it's great. He looks at the talent on the court, and he sees something in a player that the player may not see in himself, and he'll utilize a player in a way that wins games, but that player may not immediately understand or adjust to. So that may be what's happening with Siakam. One of the classic cases of this was Sean Bradley when he came to Dallas. Rick Carlisle said, we're going to use you as a post player, and here's why, and showed him some video and showed him some things. And Matrix was like, I'm not a post player, I'm run and gun. And Carlisle said, well, you were when you were younger, you're not anymore. If you want to stay in the league and be on this team, we're going to teach you to play in the post. And then Matrix was incredibly effective down there. It looked ugly every time he went in there. He had a little flip shot. It was ugly, but
worst jump shot ever.
It worked. And so, you know, he and Kevin Martin, you know, their 3-point shots were both kind of from the hip, like weird shots, but they worked. So I know that Carlisle is playing chess where a lot of coaches are playing checkers, and the players then will have a very specific role in a Carlisle scheme as opposed to maybe a looser scheme like Nick Nurse runs. A lot of coaches, there's a lot of run and gun, but not Rick Carlisle. He has a plan, and he's going to fit everybody into that plan, and hey, he's getting results.
I don't want to make any prediction on the series because I know that it'll go the opposite way that I say. But
right,
I will tell you, again, I got home late last night, so I got in there for like maybe the last minute. And seeing what the Pacers did and hearing what the Pacers did and seeing the highlights of what they did this morning. What worries me about the Knicks is their lack of depth and their lack of depth in the front court.
Mm-hmm.
Once Towns gets into foul trouble, Mitchell Robinson or bust.
Yeah.
And, I just don't know if they have enough depth to match up with the Siakams, the Turners. And look, you're still talking about other guys coming off the bench in different positions. O'Connell coming off the bench. What he brings to the table is great leadership. And
you have a starting point guard off your bench. That's
I like the Nesmith kid. I think he's really something special. And now watching him for the second year against the Knicks, these teams are very familiar with each other. They played last year in the second round.
Matherin's a force. He's started and come off the bench. He's off the bench again now, and he's another guy that just comes in. And Carlisle will use his bench as opposed to Thibodeau, who would really kind of rather not.
McBride and Campaign are sitting there on the bench. He'll call their number and they'll shock them. They'll take off the warmer pants, just like Ralph Mouth from Happy Days. We're bringing jeans, and they'll just look at each other saying they never play.
Yeah,
it's pretty much. Let's do the predictions right now. Let's do the game 2 predictions for both series right now. My last check.
Score.
Minnesota was up 37-36. We're obviously very early. I just see the Thunder holding home court and going up 2-0 to head back to Minnesota into this Memorial Day weekend. I think if this goes 6, I'd be shocked. I think it's going to be OKC in 6.
Yeah.
I just
6 or less. Well,
6 or less.
But there is an X factor, and we all see this. The league wants series to go 7 games, and they have the ability to make that happen in certain situations. The Thunder may outsmart that because they have a tendency to blow teams out. But if it's possible, if there is something that can be done to extend a series, the series will be extended. The NBA is a business. The players say it. They mean it. It is a very specific reason. But talent-wise, no one can touch the Thunder. No one can go. They're the best defensive team in years. It looks like they have 7 players on the court at all times, and no team can deal with that. So do I think Minnesota gets a game or 2? They should. They are also very talented, very deep. They have a premier player. I don't think Anthony Edwards, I keep wanting to call him Goose because the actor. I don't think Anthony Edwards has 18 points in game 2. That's not, he's going to get his, Western Conference legs, and it'll become a series, but I can't see it going 7.
No, definitely not. And then the Eastern Conference Finals, like I said, I'm not making any predictions, but this can go 7 games, and this could be a heavyweight battle.
The East, I'm not even comfortable saying I favor one team over the other. Indiana, of course, has what we've talked about, the depth, but they both have great coaching. Tom Thibodeau was my guy in Houston. Jeff Van Gundy would never talk when he was the head coach of the Rockets, but Tom would. So I'd catch him and be like, okay, what's going on? And so I really like Tom Thibodeau. And they have, you look at those 2 teams and you just think, wow, this is the making of an epic 7-game double overtime, barn burner of a series. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. And if that were the case, I'd go Indiana because they're going to use more players. They're going to be fresher for that reason alone. But man, I'm looking forward to the rest of that series for sure.
And the other thing too with this series is, like, I think the league wants the Knicks to do well. Because when the Knicks are doing well, it's good for the league. But
it's the NBA's home team. Yeah.
I will tell you though, for the Knicks, I fear their lack of depth. Like all of a sudden, if OG goes down again, because OG's injury prone, and OG goes down, Josh Hart go down like they did last year,
then they're done.
They don't have anything. Whereas if God forbid Siakam has to miss a game, it's the next man up.
Yeah, Mathurin comes in and they just keep playing. Yep.
Yeah. So that's where I think the Pacers had the advantage.
Yeah.
I think there was some joy for anybody who does not like the Knicks watching Tyrese Halliburton doing the choke sign, because God forbid
the Reggie Miller.
Yeah, if that big toe was behind the line and that would have been a game-winning three, I think it would. I think that's worse than losing in overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really what it been. Let's shift gear a little bit. Let's go to the teams that are sort of the teams and the stars that are sort of home right now. The Giannis's, the Durant's, the LeBron's, some of these other guys, and let's sort of dive in and see where maybe they can end up. I will say from a Brooklyn perspective, Sean Marks, I went back and listened to his presser from earlier right at the beginning of the offseason, and he made it pretty clear that they're not going to be active looking for aging stars. They don't want to go after established stars. They want to raise their stars. They want to develop guys and make them homegrown guys, which is very respectable.
Sure.
I think that the going after the Kyries and the Durant in the past has left a really bad taste in Sean Marks' mouth, which, by the way, it should.
Yeah.
But if you look at the possible names available, let's start at the top. There was a couple of reports this week that LeBron James would consider possibly moving on from Los Angeles. At this point, I think he's not a missing piece of a puzzle. He's just the final piece of some like a team like Cleveland probably can use LeBron James.
He represents jersey sales.
Well, I don't think that's fair either, because when you have the conversation like we had, understanding that LeBron has this ability to be a lightning rod, for him not to be able to get the credit he deserves for what he really has done for the league, I still think that he has something he can contribute to a championship contender. He brings experience, and just like Durant, he can be the final touch to a team. A team like Cleveland.
I like what you said about Cleveland, because maybe that's the nudge that makes them the winner that they already have. The pieces are there. It's just I think somebody's got to teach Donovan Mitchell how to be the guy. Maybe LeBron could do that. Maybe.
I think also I think for you look at the big picture and you look at his career and his credibility. Look, he's won everywhere he's gone. Like you can't deny that. LeBron James has won a championship in Cleveland. He's won a championship. He won 2 championships in Miami.
To be fair, LeBron picks winning situations to play in. We have to have that caveat. LeBron finds a team that's already ready to win, and he joins it, and then they win. Well, okay. It's not like he's going to a team and making it a winner.
No. But I will throw this at you. When he went back to Cleveland, they were in the lottery for 2 years in a row and just had the number 1 pick and trading away Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love.
Yeah.
But I have to say it though. You look at if he's going to finish up, if this is going to be his retirement tour, is he going to do a retirement tour with the Lakers and have another first round exit? Or can he go to an opportunity to win, help a young team win a championship? And
why not Cleveland? 3rd time's a charm, right?
Yeah, and it would be a very, 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 very good story for a guy who deserves to have some positive press on the way out.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction.
If LeBron leaves, does Luka leave also?
No, I think the Lakers actually sort of want LeBron to leave. I think deep down they would. I think they would like to, because I think they want
that Bronny kid with you.
Yeah, and take your son too, jerk. I think they would. I think the Lakers would actually welcome LeBron leaving, because then it becomes Luka's team, and then you can take that money, instead of spending it on LeBron, you can go after the Giannis's. You can go after some of these other guys and build a championship contender for right now.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they would really they're really, really welcome. I don't think Luka's decision to stay in LA is going to have anything to do with LeBron James. Mm-hmm. So, and vice versa. I think LeBron wanted to set up Ronnie, and he's actually said it. He wanted to set up Ronnie for a good situation. He did. I think LeBron's legacy has taken a hit over the last couple of years. I think him finishing in Cleveland would change that dynamic. I think it really would do good for him.
Good.
Next one. Let's go Durant. Let's get him. Let's figure out this situation. Who's got the assets that won't have to mortgage their team to get him? The only team I can think of that would have to put some assets on the table that would hurt their lineup a little bit, but they would have to keep their one or two of their key guys is Miami. I think Miami would love to have Durant. I think, I think it becomes a one or the other. I think they would love to have Durant or they would love to have Giannis. We'll put Giannis in the same conversation with Durant.
Well, these are two different players. One is at the very end of his career and gets injured in warm-ups because he trips over a crack on the court. We don't know. And one is very much in his prime and MVP caliber player. So if you have a choice between Giannis and KD,
yeah, you have to be able to.
You're going Giannis.
Yeah, you want to take it. You obviously want to take Giannis, but I'm trying to figure out what that asking price is going to be, and if Miami decides to make it, are you willing to risk a Bam Adebayo? Are you willing to risk a Tyler Hero? When those are the guys you want to have with Giannis,
right?
So, and they don't have a lot of assets left. Whereas you take a team like OKC, who has the salary space, and you can give them the draft capital. But just like the Knicks making that deal with the Nets for Mikal Bridges, you're looking at 5 picks, but the first 3 years of those picks are going to be low first-round picks. Yeah. So you have to really be smart. Like, I hate to keep making it about Brooklyn, but you look at the deal that what the Nets got from the Knicks for this draft. The Knicks are a low pick. They also got Milwaukee's pick, and that's a 19th pick.
Yep.
So you're looking at that going, okay, well, the Nets have 4 picks in this draft, 3 out of the 4 in the lower part of the draft. So you can still maybe get a quality player, but you're talking about franchise-changing players.
Yeah.
If you're trading away a franchise guy, you want to be able to know that those picks that you're getting back for him are going to be high. Like when the Nets traded for Vince Carter and they traded 2 of those 3 draft picks they got for Kenyon Martin, 2 of those draft picks ended up being like lower level draft picks. I would love to go back and dig to see who Toronto ended up picking for those guys. But I think one was Jose Calderon. Not a terrible pickup, but still. But
Houston, this is what you keep seeing on the rumor mill is Kevin Durant to Houston, and I don't like that at all because Durant's he's in the wrong place in his career. Houston is on the rise and Durant's on the down, and he doesn't play enough. Houston needs 3-point shooting desperately, but I'm not a fan of a guy that he's going to play 50 games. That's not what Houston needs, but they do have the number 10 pick in the draft, which was Phoenix's pick. And they have draft capital. They have cap space. They have guys. I mean, Cam Whitmore's a hell of a player, and he can't even get in the lineup.
Right.
So they have assets. They have picks. They have draft. They have cap space. There are a lot of reasons that it makes sense for Kevin Durant to land in Houston, and the reason it doesn't make sense is he's on a totally different timeline, and I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah, the Rockets are a team right now that should be taking it step by step and aiming to go to the second round, whereas Kevin Durant is hanging on to try to win another championship somewhere.
Right.
Another team, there's one team that I was thinking about for Giannis. I just don't think they have the assets to make it where the team would be competitive. Wouldn't it be really interesting to see him end up in Memphis with Morant?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, seeing him play with Ja and Zach Edey and that crew, that would be very, very, very interesting to watch. The problem is I look at Giannis and I'm not really seeing a leader. I'm looking at if he's more of the silent leader, like the quiet guy you're going to follow.
Right.
But he's not the guy you're building who's going to be the vocal leader telling you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm just wondering what his market's going to be and what the asking price is going to be for a guy like Giannis. Look, Mikal Bridges got 5 draft picks from Mikal Bridges last year.
Yeah. You're talking about Milwaukee having to sell their fan base on a complete and total rebuild, because that's what you're doing. Damian Lillard's not about to take, even when he's healthy, he's not a franchise player. And even when he's healthy, he doesn't stay healthy. He misses a bunch of games. So then you're probably looking at trying to move him eventually and totally starting over. So they're looking, I would think, draft picks. You're not trying to stay competitive. Giannis makes sense a lot of places. Giannis makes a great deal of sense in Houston. He makes a great deal of sense in OKC. He makes a great deal of sense in Cleveland, but I don't know how.
You don't want to give that up. You don't want, because all of a sudden now him and Evan Mobley are fighting for position for the same teams.
Right. So, but Brooklyn, of course, although that doesn't seem to be what the direction they want to go, but Houston, man, I can't think of a better fit for Giannis than Houston, because they're.
I have one more.
Okay, who you got?
Maybe
San Antonio. I don't know. Dallas, you are missing. So Anthony Davis is kind of like, he's Mr. Glass. He's like Damian Lillard. He's going to miss 40 games or more. And you're not going to have Kyrie Irving until, assuming Kyrie returns to Dallas, you're not going to have him till January.
Right.
So, yeah, they don't pop into the front of my mind, because I don't really know what the hell the Mavs are doing other than trying to make them want to move. I don't know. You've got the number 1 pick in the draft now, Cooper Flagg, but is he going to be an instant impact player? I mean, yeah, he played at Duke. Maybe that keeps Kyrie, keep that Duke connection alive. But I don't think a kid who played 1 year at Duke is going to walk into the NBA, and those days are over. Let's just be real. So, but if certain things fell just the right way, Giannis to Dallas makes sense. Houston's a thing where if you move him, like, it's an instant, like, bam, first game of the season, they're ready to go. So,
I think, though, just because he wants a trade doesn't mean Milwaukee has to oblige him.
Well, no, they absolutely don't. And
Kobe asked for a trade, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's nice to ask, but the reason you tend to make a deal, and this is the reason Sam Presti traded James Harden to Houston when he did for what he did, was because he knew that the story every night. This is the way the media is. I never did this, but I saw it night in and night out. And while the rest of the media were busy doing this, I was trying to have a real conversation with somebody every game. Are you trading Kevin Durant? Are you trading Kevin Durant? Or trading Giannis Antetokounmpo? So you trading Giannis, and then every time Giannis steps in front of a microphone, so are you being traded? Where do you want to be traded to? You can't have that going on. Once a player makes it public that they want to be traded, you try to accommodate that, because otherwise it's all the media is going to talk about. The media are very single-minded.
I think if it happens, if they're smart, it happens at draft time.
Yeah. Either that, or you come out and you say, nope, we are 100% committed to Giannis. We're not trading him. And in fact, we're making this deal to keep him in the hunt. You have to do one of those two things.
I think that one of the teams I think there's a couple really young teams out there that have a lot of young players, young core. I got into it with one Nets beat writer. I said, I think Jordy did a great job, and he helped establish a lot of younger players. And he's like, who on this team do you even think is going to be back next year? For the fact they're trying to rebuild. And I thought about what he was saying, because I was getting ready to just start like, well, no. But like, you look at it, basically, you look at a team like Brooklyn and you look at what they did this year. they basically use this season as a way of auditioning younger players.
Yeah.
Who are, when we finally get our one or two stars that we want to have, which one of you guys want to be here to be the supporting cast? And that's not the wrong way of doing it. You had a whole season. Like you look at what they have available going in. They have a lot of restricted free agents and guys who have the ability to get a new contract or go free agency. Keon Johnson is one who played in Portland and came here. He found himself barely getting on the court in Portland and having starter minutes, and he produced. Zaire Williams got traded from Memphis to Brooklyn. Had a great season. He's going into his free agency, and he has the ability to possibly get a deal. Will he come back to Brooklyn? Who knows? I'll throw a couple more. Will the Nets bring back D'Angelo Russell? That's a big question. He's a veteran guy, 30 years old. You have to decide whether you want to bring him in to help be a veteran on this team. Cam Johnson is another one. He's under contract. Do you want to get the assets that teams are offering you to get a sharpshooter like Cam Johnson, who had a great season, averaging 19 a game? Or do you want to keep him? Do you want to have him be another piece to when you get that guy? And then you also have Cameron Thomas, who averaged 20-something points a game for the Nets this year when he did play, but he only played about 40 games this year. Injuries seem to be an issue with him. But when he is on, I've watched him shoot from the logo, and it goes in perfectly.
That's everybody now, right?
Yeah. It's sort of ridiculous.
Thank you, Steph Curry.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to see where they're going to go. Now, you were talking about the Rockets. You're talking about the Houston Rockets. I don't think they should go after any of those stars. That's so close.
The issue Houston has is Jalen Green is not the guy.
Right.
He's not. He'll be the guy a few nights a year. He'll be a guy, maybe he might be the guy 50 nights. He's not going to be the guy 80 nights. He's not going to be the guy in the playoffs. So you got to have the guy. And maybe that's Şengün. Şengün only shoots 12% from the free throw line, which makes it hard for him to be the guy down the stretch. Maybe he improves that over the offseason. Maybe Amen Thompson, who today was named to the all defensive first team. Maybe Amen Thompson, if he comes back with a jump shot, no problem. There's your guy. But it's not going to be Jalen Green. And I'm not really sold on Fred VanVleet either. He had some nice games in the playoffs, but overall, there's a lot of games where his decision-making with the ball, especially late in games, his shot-taking decisions late in games, sometimes I was throwing stuff at the TV. So I think Houston has to do something in the backcourt.
And I think you would think with VanVleet, his championship experience, he would be he'd be a little bit more of a leader with them. But I don't think they need to go out and get a big star. I think they just need to keep growing their younger guys, and I think they're going to be okay. That's the same thing with the Detroit Pistons. If you're going to go out there and get anybody, get a guy who's a veteran on your bench who's already had that championship experience.
Yeah, they have good vets too. So
yeah,
but the Rockets, Dylan Brooks disappeared against Golden State. I think he bit off more than he could chew with Draymond Green. But Dylan Brooks has instilled some toughness in a positive way with the Rockets. So yeah, that's where the veterans matter. That was the difference for Houston this year, was having some vets who helped the young guys come along. And Fred did that. Fred is, VanVleet is good with the guys off the court. I'd just like him to be a little better with the ball on the court in clutch situations.
I think right now, I think what are we about a month away from the draft. We're 2 weeks away till the finals start. I think right now we have a long way to go, but once free agency kicks in and once we have the ability to start making some deals, I think there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking in this offseason, because I think LeBron is going to be the first one. I think once he makes a decision on what he's going to do, whether he's going to retire or play, and then you have to, okay, if he's going to play, Is he going to stay in LA or is he going to go back to Cleveland or go somewhere else? At this point, I can't see him going back. I can't see him sticking around in LA. I feel like they're ready to turn the page on him.
What about the Celtics? They're ready to turn a page, aren't they?
I think so.
They're ready to close a book and open a different book.
I think once the Celtics lost that series, I felt like it was like the end.
Yeah.
Because I think they rewarded Tatum and Brown too much. I think they gave them such big bloated salaries. But now you have to find a team that's going to have to mortgage their roster, unless it's an OKC, unless it's a Brooklyn, unless it's a Rockets team. Actually, if you think about it, Jaylen Brown might be the best guy to make sense for the Rockets.
I was thinking about that.
Like someone kept on saying to me that Porzingis going to Brooklyn might be a good thing because it's a salary dump and it would help him for the year. But
he doesn't play.
But what are you? Why are you taking him on? Why are you helping the Celtics take a salary dump? Keep them in the division and keep them suffering.
You're taking a dump on your own roster in the process.
Yeah. Look, if I'm the Nets, I don't want to keep making this about the Nets, but if I'm Brooklyn, I try and keep the salary numbers as low as I possibly can. If you don't feel that the guys that are available in this draft and you can't make a deal in the market to get that number one guy you're looking for, keep raising the guys you have, and maybe it's not this draft, but it's the next draft. You have all your draft capital back. So, you have some picks from Rockets, you have some picks from Phoenix, and you have all the Knicks picks. So it's not like you're not going to be able to get guys.
Right.
You have that ability to do it. So, with that being said, though, Bill, I'm enjoying the conference finals series. It's halftime. Last check, I believe at the last check it is 58-50 Thunder at the half. We'll follow that. We're going to record a second show tomorrow, so when this one posts, we'll be gearing up for Game 2 of the Pacers and the Knicks. We appreciate everyone following along with the Hardwood Huddle. Bill, I still have to get onto Netflix and watch these other the documentary about Tim Donaghy, but you were talking very highly of it. Why don't you let the listeners know about this Netflix documentary?
So there's a series of documentaries on Netflix, and several of them are about the NBA, and I've watched 3 of them now. The first one was Operation Technical Foul, which is about Tim Donaghy and the whole scandal there, which I knew a lot about it. But the best part of it was not the Donaghy scandal, because I knew that story, and I knew Peter Vesey when he broke it. I knew kind of the ins and outs of that story. What I did not anticipate was that several refs, the way that Donaghy was throwing games. The last part of that documentary is absolutely astounding, because it's things that we all knew, things that we could all see. But when you have an NBA ref telling gamblers who's going to win a game based on who's reffing, because that ref hates that player and that team, so bet on the other team, that kind of insight, that commentary that you get in that series is absolutely golden. Even if you know the Donaghy's basic outline sketch of the story, the rest of it is absolutely incredible. But then also last night, my daughter and I watched Shooting Guards, which was about Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton with the Washington Wizards. And I knew, of course, I talked to Gilbert fairly often, and I had talked to Javaris several times. I didn't really know, because that was kind of a dirty story, like that was a scandalous story. That was not what I did. I didn't like to tell those kind of stories. I like to tell stories that were good stories about the league and good stories about teams and players. I didn't like to dig into the trash. That was fascinating to me, because I thought it had to do with a gambling situation, and that was not what it was about. It was about Gil, and the great thing is you have these guys on there 10 years later talking about these situations. And Gilbert Arenas was just so crazy, like over the top, prankster, jokester. And Javaris Crittenton comes in from the Lakers trying to earn himself a long-term spot in the league, because Phil Jackson, of course, didn't give rookies a shot. And he's taking things very seriously and trying to work very hard. And Arenas is just messing with him so hard. And Crittenton took it seriously. And that's how that situation escalated. that story too, how that transpired from there, I had no idea. I just stayed away from that story because it was not something that the kind of story that we did. But both of those, very, very good. And now there's one on Dirk. So I don't know. Netflix seems to be. The other one I watched was The Malice in the Palace, and I did know about that one because Steven Jackson was a friend of mine. Jermaine O'Neal was a friend of mine, and I even got to know Ron Artest when he was in Houston. And Jermaine told me that when he got home, and his kids, he'd always taught his kids not to fight. And the first thing his kids said to him was, "Dad, you told us not to fight, but look at this that's on the TV," and a replay was on. And he said that changed his life. He never fought again. He really understood what it meant to be a role model, what it meant to be an NBA player. And it was just great. I remember I did a lengthy interview with Jermaine about that because that's the kind of story I like to tell. Is the one where somebody learns a lesson and they learn it the hard way and they grow from it. So those are 3 documentaries on Netflix, and there's some more I haven't watched yet, but there's a bunch of really good NBA documentaries on Netflix right now. Not a paid endorsement.
Well, it's funny with Jermaine O'Neal. I don't remember what team he played on, but I remember seeing him at the locker room at the Meadowlands, and he says, "I've been in the league for how many years? If these guys still want to talk to me at this point, I don't understand why. Because I think I told my story so many different ways and so many different times."
Must have been Boston. That was.
Yeah, I think it was when he was with Boston. He just said to me, "He's like, I got nothing else to say." I said, "I never interviewed you. You got to give me a chance." And he's like, "Talk to them, and we'll set up." He's like, I don't. He's like, then he goes, "I just don't like talking pregame." I said, "Well, that's another story." So, but guys, thanks for listening to the Hardwood Huddle. We'll be back this weekend with the second episode. For Bill Ingram, I'm Randy Zellea. We'll see you next time here on the Huddle.
We'll see you.